Welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn session from ISE. Today is our fourth and final session of our CPQ summer journey. We are hosting what we are calling an Open Mic Roundtable. And with us today, we have two XA customers who have implemented CPQ. And at the end of this, we will have an open mic session where everyone can join in and ask questions. But for starters, you will be in listen-only mode. And if you have questions during the session and you want to put them in the chat feature, you're more than welcome to do so, or you can just hold on to those questions till the end when we open up the mics for everyone. So without any further ado, I am going to go ahead and turn off my camera, and then I will review the agenda with you. Now that I've officially welcomed you. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to have two CPQ customers who are also XA customers share their journey through CPQ and how they've implemented CPQ in their current environments. And then we have a couple Infor announcements that we'd like to share. And then we will open up the mics for everyone to ask questions. And then I'll circle back and review the next steps in your CPQ journey. So just as a reminder, Aaron, we got a little background noise. Okay, it's gone. Okay, so just a quick reminder, this is the summer journey as we've seen it throughout the summer. We are here in our fourth session of our Open Mic Roundtable discussion, and the final destination will be at the InPower conference, where we will have our workshop on September 14th. A little more about that later on in the session. Okay, so with us today, we have two guest speakers from one of our XA CPQ customers, Fleetwood Group / Fleetwood Furniture. We have Cal Folkert and Scott Tulija with Fleetwood. If you could, Aaron, open up their mic so they can share their stories. So welcome, Cal and Scott. Thank you for joining us today. If you wouldn't mind, Cal, maybe you could start out by sharing a little background about Fleetwood Group, Fleetwood Furniture, a little bit about yourself, your location, your product lines, years of experience with XA and CPQ, and then maybe you could turn it over and introduce Scott after that. How's that?
Sure. Thank you, Sherry. Thanks, and welcome everybody to this webinar here this afternoon. My name is Cal Folkert at Fleetwood, and Scott Tulija is here with us. Scott will be doing most of the heavy lifting of talking here in a little bit, but I'll do the welcome here a little bit. We are company Fleetwood Group is in Holland, Michigan. We have been XA customers since roughly 1991. I myself have been around XA as well since about the same time frame. So we are long time users of XA, going back to when it was known as Mapix and all of that sort of thing. Fleetwood makes school furniture, as you can see from the slide there. We are K through 12, pretty much school furniture, and make a lot of that. And of course, our busy time is in the summer when schools want their furniture, and Scott will talk more about that soon. We also have an electronics division that does contract electronics production, but we use CPQ in our furniture division and not in electronics. So that's a little bit about us, and yeah.
All right, thank you, Cal. Scott, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I am Scott Tulija. I am the rule writer for CPQ at Fleetwood. Been here 27 years, worked my way up into the position.
Thank you, Scott. I will say, I think you were the first person I have met so far that has a title of a configuration specialist. I love that title because it tells people exactly what you do for a living. So I prepared this slide here to kind of give a profile of Fleetwood. As Cal had mentioned, they are XA, longtime XA customer. They're currently on release 10 on premise, not in the cloud, with 55 concurrent users. And on the CPQ side, they are also on premise, and they implemented that in 2017. They are using the bidirectional integration, and they are utilizing the ISE UIG tool. For those of you who participated in the session 3 of our CPQ summer journey, you learned more about the UIG tool and how data migrates back and forth between XA and CPQ. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Scott, and Scott's going to share more about the original goals for CPQ and what they were trying to accomplish as part of the purchase of the N4 CPQ application.
Okay, before CPQ, we did everything here manually created all the bombs, the routings, item masters, item warehouses. So the big thing for CPQ was we wanted to be able to speed up our underlying the bombs that we're doing, and also give us more visibility on the materials and the hours that it took to create our components and our cabinets. So just to continue on with that, what Cal was saying, our biggest problem being in the school furniture industry, our customers want the majority of the furniture in the summer of this when the students are not in school. We have a large price book of products with for customers to order, with 40 different color laminates and 40 different color edge bandings. We manually created all the parts in the cabinets and the colors required by our customers, and would drastically fall behind when it started getting into the late spring. A lot of orders come in the beginning of the spring. By the time we get to late spring, we've got so many we've fallen weeks behind. Since we fell so far behind, we didn't have the ability to see the labor or material needs until it was almost too late. Manually entering of orders and manual creation of cabinets created these issues, and it would also create a lot of user entered mistakes and stuff like that. We tried to add a summer help for a couple of years, but that just continued to create more mistakes down the road. So what we decided to do is look at CPQ. We thought that would be our solution, but it didn't work out of the box for what we needed. We had a meeting with the heads of our various departments in the company, and they loved the idea of having the configurator, but only if it didn't change how things happened in manufacturing. It didn't change the information that the customer received. That's why we came to ISE and the UIG software. The most important thing that we needed CPQ to do was to fit into the process we already had, and we didn't want it to change anything for anybody, so it was easier for everybody to kind of have it pop in without them even knowing. We started the CPQ process in 2016 with Charles' UIG work, and he had everything up and running for us in the first quarter of 2017.
All right, thank you. So the current CPQ status to date, where are you right now? And then after this, we'll look into your future plans. So, and you pretty much covered this for the most part. Any more you want to add to this, Scott?
We've been using CPQ now for 6 years. Being a small company, we started slowly with CPQ in the first 2 years, targeting the strongest selling product lines that we had. We didn't have a specific rule writer like I am now. Basically, my position was I filled it in my free time when I wasn't quoting special products for our sales department, manually creating cabinets or adjusting production times. In 2019, my other tasks started being distributed to other people so that I could focus most of my time on the rule writing and getting the rest of the products in the configurator. So that's, I think, part of the reason why my job title is configuration specialist, is to try to keep my focus on the configurator and not have people pull me back into the old positions I used to do.
So I have a question for you. Are you 100% full-time now as a rules writer?
Yeah, for the most part. People keep pulling me back into other positions I used to do. I just had that yesterday morning when I was trying to figure out what to put into this discussion. But we've just done a huge product changeover this last 2-3 years. We're continuing to do it the way our products are made. So we're basically changing everything that was in our catalog. So it's been a lot of rule writing to get everything ready for it.
And frankly, I don't have any idea how we would have done this without CPQ. I mean, we would have just been treading water like you couldn't believe.
Thank you. All right, and now into the future state. What are you looking to do down the road with CPQ?
We continue. One of the nice things about working with Charles and ISC is the ability to get updates to the UIG to adjust the changing needs that we have. Our sales department has had some changes that they wanted in the UIG, which Charles has been able to do. We were also doing some work with the shipping department and found some stuff that they were doing manually that with a small modification to the UIG, we were able to have them done by the configurator instead. And then Charles just did some more, or is finishing up doing a few more changes that we want to do. So our future plans with CPQ is just to continue the way we are and get any updates that we need as they are needed.
And then eventually maybe take a look at going to the cloud at some point.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay. Last slide for Fleetwood is share with us your lessons learned and maybe any unforeseen benefits that you've gleaned from CPQ.
Lessons learned, everything went the process went very well. We didn't run into any issues as far as setting everything up. Once Charles got the UIG working, everything went very smoothly. One unforeseen benefit that we have is that our sales and marketing department, it allows them to get away from using our manufacturing number in the sales area. We've used our manufacturing number in the sales area round for years on the price list. And basically the price list had a page for each product line describing how to order it, which digits in the manufacturing number meant, for example, no backsplash or chrome arch hinges or handles. Now the sales team can have as much smaller number and options that the configurator can change into a longer, more complex manufacturing number, which is easier for our customers. Without CPQ, the order entry person would have to try to convert the sales number into a manufacturing number, which would be very time intensive and error prone, where CPQ allows us to do it very simply.
And CPQ has really improved our production scheduling. I mean, because we can build the routings and product structures within minutes of taking the order, we're able to see where we're going to be in the July and August and September timeframes and see just how badly it's going to be, what our lead times need to look like and that sort of thing. It's been a real game changer in being able to promise ship dates to customers. And of course, it wouldn't work without the UIG. So.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate that very much. Now on to our next customer's journey. With us today from Penco Products, we have Chase Ehler. Am I saying that right, Chase?
Ehler.
Ehler.
Close.
I just know you as Chase.
It's all good.
I meet with Chase at least 4 times a week, maybe longer, maybe more. But we are currently implementing CPQ Cloud at Penco. So it's a pretty good project and it's a great story to tell. So Chase, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Penco Products.
Yeah, my name's Chase Ehler. I'm the VP of IT here at Penco Products. Penco is a manufacturer and supplier of storage products and shelving. So we're very, you told me the other day, Sherry, that we had a lot in common with Fleetwood over here, and it's true. We do lockers, and just like them, we're kind of seasonal where we got to cram everything in the summer. And as a company, it's brought a lot of challenges. But we do have, just going back to who Penco is, we have a manufacturing facility in North Carolina and a number of warehouses for our distribution network throughout the US. I think we're up to 10 now. So we kind of, we import a lot. We do manufacturing. We have different sides of the business, but we have all that handled by XA and CPQ.
So looking at your profile here, they have an interesting story. Penco moved from SAP to XA Release 10 on-premise, not in the cloud. And they deployed a good number of applications, including NetLink, System I Workspace, Infor OS homepages, CPQ, BPI, Enterprise Financials, Material Logistics, Interform. What am I missing? It's a good majority of the applications
Get into it.
they went live with day one. They just went live in October of 2022. They currently have 70 concurrent users of XA, and as Chase mentioned, they are multi-site. They are using the CPQ configurator on-premise with a project in progress right now where we're currently migrating them to the cloud, and they'll be taking advantage of the enterprise quoting dealer portal. They too are bidirectional with their integration utilizing the ISE UIG. So Chase, if you could just share with us what Penco's goals were for CPQ.
Yeah, so this all, we have a little bit of a different story because we weren't on XA first. We said about a year ago, well, the project started several years ago, but we were tasked with moving to Infor XA, and we had a configurator in SAP, and we had to basically rebuild that and a solution for XA, and CPQ was the obvious choice there. So, we did go through some consultants, and I have a main rules writer here. His job title is ERP process or support process engineer, so some big title. I like Cal and them's title more. And just like them, he still gets roped it, or his main role before was the person doing the custom layouts, the custom products, all the little odds and ends coming in because he has the most product knowledge in the company. And he's transitioned more now into the configurator role, but we don't update ours nearly as much as it seems the Fleetwood guys do. So he kind of plays both roles still. But that said, we had to migrate from SAP to XA, and we had to rewrite our whole configurator in XA. And we do some things different here at Penco with our shipping and everything and how our BOM structures work. And we were able, for the most part, out of the box to get everything to work with CPQ. We did lean on Charles and the UIG, especially for filling out, any extra data that you may need to put into XA, but I don't know. We did have a couple of custom projects with him in our colors and whatnot, but yeah, that's been a great relationship there, having him able to handle that. But that was the main reason for getting CPQ. Another part of us that was real attractive to us was the fact that CPQ integrated with more than just XA. So, a big thing we wanted was a new sales and quoting portal. We originally started off with sales portal. We've since transitioned over to enterprise quoting, and that's in progress, but that was, the original requirement. And another thing is we already had a configurator. We know how to configure our lockers. We wanted to take it to the next level and be able to configure a room of lockers, or handle more takeoff responsibilities and take that out of our dealer and salespeople's hands. So those are our original goals for the CPQ suite.
Okay, and if you could share with us your status to date.
Yeah, we've been running a year now. Come next month, or 2 months, it'll be October 1st. And I will say, since we did move over to XA and CPQ, it's not all CPQ's credit, but our season this summer was way different than any other summer we had. We weren't nearly as behind, and I credit a lot of that to what we got out of XA and CPQ. So we still had more volume, but it's nothing compared to the years before. We've had over 15,000 unique configurations that we've sent through the production floor. So, the dynamically generating the bombs on the fly, everything with CPQ, it works great. With that too, it was a big thing for us coming from SAP not to have to retrain everybody on the manufacturing floor. So having CPQ work with our form software and whatnot to be able to put the right documentation on it, the right fields, that was very important to us, and it was a success. We have more than we had on there before, so it is a little bit different, but it was stuff that people were begging that we had in SAP. So that's been an improvement there. We're currently in a migration from CPQ on-premise to the cloud. That is really kicked off about 2 months ago, and it's going well so far. We actually have our rules working in the cloud. We don't have XA talking to it yet, but it's going smooth. And the main driver behind that was getting it talking to enterprise quoting. So enterprise quoting does work with on-prem CPQ, but I encourage anybody, if you're going to start going that route, to really look at Infor's roadmap to where they want you to go, because all their development and support is going to go towards that roadmap. And enterprise quoting and cloud CPQ is where they're going with the roadmap. So we're in the process of moving to our, the goal is to get on-prem XA to talk to cloud CPQ, and to get cloud enterprise quoting talking to cloud CPQ.
Case, if you wouldn't mind, just share your perspectives on your experiences you had with Infor OS, from having that on premise and then putting that in the cloud.
I have that on the last tab, but we can go over
it. Oh, all right, I'll get there. I'll hold that thought. All right, tell us about your future plans.
Yeah, so I kind of just talked about what we have going on right now, so I consider that current. But after we get EQ fully working, and this is kind of part of it, but getting our 2D and 3D drawing integration done. We currently are just rule sets. We don't have any 2D or 3D drawings. We want elevation and room layouts to be able to be generated from CPQ. So that's on our future roadmap after we get the core cloud integration done. And then really getting those takeoff rule sets built. Like I said, we don't adjust our locker rule sets too often, but we really want to be able to take those and say, well, what if I want to run a whole string of lockers along a wall and show a room with that in it? Can I do that in CPQ? And talking with the team at Infor and everything, it's going to happen. So that'll be real exciting once we get to that point.
All right, so here's where I jumped the gun a little bit. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
So tell us about your lessons learned and any unforeseen benefits you may have seen.
Yeah, so unforeseen benefits. Well, we went to migrate the rules from on-premise to cloud. We gave them a copy of their database. We ran the rules analyzer. 90-something% of our rules are compatible. The stuff that wasn't related to anything we wrote. It was from our old sales portal installation. So they were able to get that up there for us. And it didn't work out of the box. We had to update some SQL lookups, and Infor assisted us with getting a web API integration going to relay those through our network. And it gets kind of technical, but it was really neat how they got it set up. And after we did that, everything just kind of worked. So we were able to really update one endpoint, and then the rules started flowing. We learned since then that there's 2 versions of the CPQ engine or the rules database engine. So now we do have a task to update all of our rule sets to be compatible with the version 2 engine. But we were able to do that today. We did a couple of them after a 1 or 2 hour session with Infor. So there's a little bit of work to be done there, but nothing, that we thought it was going to be. And then as far as Infor OS, I talked about it when we first started our installation. We're a little bit different. We don't use PowerLink. We don't use green screen at all. From the very beginning, we were going full-blown NetLink and System I workspace. And then this N4OS came in and it took up an extra little half an inch at the top of my screen, and it didn't do anything for me. And I complained about it to no day. When we went live with XA, we did not include N4OS in there. I had everybody open the System I workspace directly. Since then, when we purchased the N4 CPQ cloud multi-tenant, it comes with the N4OS multi-tenant, and we were able to bring our on-prem installation into there for XA, and you get all the advantages of N4OS that work much better than the on-prem version. And we've since tied our document management to it. We're working on getting some of the workflows integrated into it so we can ping the plant and it launches a Ion workflow that, we can actually track in the system that people responded correctly to status updates and whatnot. So since we did get hooked up to the N4OS multi-tenant, I've tried to take as much advantage of it as we can. We're not using home pages yet. I'd like to, but we're definitely using the document management. And that's not, part of the scope of this is Interform, but they integrate with it and it's been awesome. And yeah, really like N4OS multi-tenant. It just works. And it's not a burden anymore like the on-premise one was. So
Yeah, thank you.
I'll give up my half inch of real estate if I get document management out of it. And then now that we're doing EQ as well, my crew here really likes the fact they can click on the top left, we call it the waffle, and they can click on that and switch between their N4 applications, one to the other, and it's pretty seamless. So
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Chase.
yeah.
Thank you both companies, Penco and Fleetwood, for sharing your stories. Everyone loves to hear from other customers, and so I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your busy days. I know all of you have a lot going on, so I truly, truly appreciate your time. If you wouldn't mind sticking around just for the open mic, we will be there in just a few short minutes. So with that, I'm going to transition to a couple exciting announcements that we wanted to share from N4. So first, we'll share on the CPQ side. There's an announcement from N4. CPQ has a new director of CPQ product management. Mike, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Just wanted you to introduce yourself, say hello, and tell us a little bit about what's going on in the CPQ world.
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name is Mike Bristol. I'm based out of Colorado, just outside of Boulder, Colorado. Currently in Columbus with the team, as a matter of fact. I joined N4 in March, but this is my second tour of duty. I was with N4 for 9 years. Prior to that, from 07 to 16, I've got a lot of experience with CRM, as well as configuration over my career. So happy to be joining the team, and thanks everybody for participating. And in particular, love hearing those customer success stories. So like I said, excited to be part of the team. We're working hard to pull things together and move things forward as quickly as possible. One note I will mention is we have an upcoming October release for CPQ. We'll be communicating lots of information about that here in the near future. And then we have gone to 2 releases a year, part of an overarching N4 objective. So that will be in April and October for our 2 release cycles. So with that, I'll pass it back over to you, Sherry.
Okay, Mike, I have one more quick question for you. Could you share a little bit about the CPQ Connect?
Yes, indeed. Thank you for reminding me. So we just put I think it started yesterday. It's been updated today. So CPQ Connect is our first face-to-face user group dedicated to CPQ. It is November 6th, 7th, and 8th in Columbus, Ohio. We just posted the agenda up on the site, and I think we ought to be able to share the link to that. with everybody, and we're just starting, to promote that. We have through our user group already been promoting it, but now we actually have our agenda with titles and descriptions. It's broken down into 2 tracks over 2 days. So it's first day getting there, a little bit of registering and getting together at the end of the day on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. We've got 2 tracks running. One is for executive and business owners, and then the other is for rules, configurator folks, right? So we've put together a lot of what we think is targeted, valuable information, and encourage everybody to take a look, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Our next announcement we have is coming from Ross Freeman. And if I can get this to advance here, there we go. Ross is the XA product manager / IBMI strategy leader, and he has an announcement to share with us as well today.
Yes, thank you, Sherry. So a variety of things that we've been working on in relationship to CPQ. One is a general update for those people that were looking to use InfoOS multi-tenant. Historically, there was a requirement to add something called an enterprise connector to make the secure link, which just added to complexity and costs. So that has been eliminated. We use something called IMS to make a direct link natively between XA and the cloud instance of OS. So that's an improvement that we've made, as well as bringing out the integration to the multi-tenant version of CPQ, which is, as people have mentioned, is a significant upgrade from the on-premise version. So pretty happy that we're able to offer both of those to customers now. So looking forward to help Penco and others move forward with this.
Excellent. Thank you, Ross. All right, now we're going to transition into our last session, last portion of our session. Well, not the last, but close to the last. We're going to transition into our open mic roundtable discussion. So again, here are all of the folks who are on the call today to answer any and all of your questions that you may have. At this point in time, Aaron, if you could unmute everyone. And then I'll just quickly go around the room here to share who all's on the call to take any questions you have. Certainly the folks that you heard from today, Scott and Cal from Fleetwood. We have Chase from Penco Products. We also have from the CPQ product team, we have Mike Bristol, whom you just heard from, as well as Galen Sindelar. He is the director of CPQ Professional Services. So any implementation related questions that you may have, Galen can answer. You just heard from Ross Freeman, the XA product manager, as well as Charles Hood, who has been our primary keynote speaker throughout this summer journey for sessions 1, 2, and 3. So he can answer any questions you may have about the UIG or about CPQ or XA, or pretty much anything in the world that you want to ask a technical question of, Charles can answer. And then of course myself. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask or key into the chat. And while we're waiting to compile any questions that may be out there, I would like to pose a question to the CPQ team, because this is a hot topic that Charles and I have recently encountered with some customers out there with artificial intelligence, making its way into the manufacturing industry. We are well aware of the Coleman AI product from Infor. So I was wondering, I don't know, Mike, if you want to start with this, can you share with us how CPQ is currently utilizing Coleman AI today in the plans for any maybe future data model somewhere down the road?
Sure, thanks. So currently we've implemented AI to address two business opportunities, two business problems, right? One is to optimize pricing with discount for a quote to be converted to an order. So trying to get the absolute best price to motivate that quote to an order. The other is a product recommendation engine. So that's where we're looking at, what's in the current quote and making recommendations based on, the historic data that's been analyzed, modeled, and evaluated, and then being able to present the most likely or most useful products to be associated or added to that quote. So those are two examples that are in place today. They are delivered with the solution. Moving forward, we've been working with the AI team, looking at what's being built there for other groups, and also assessing what we're seeing in the marketplace. And this is one of those areas where we don't want to think of AI as a hammer and everything looks like a nail, right? We're looking for the best use cases where AI as a resource to us can be utilized. So one of the areas that we're actually investigating with some customers right now is when they have dealers in the network and building quotes, the way that their dealer network is set up is that they could have multiple dealers bidding for the same business. So let's say it's building products or windows and doors or whatever it may be. There's a project out there for a building or a residential home development, right? Well, you could have 3 of your dealers bidding your products for that particular development. Well, when you're trying to evaluate, hey, what does my overall pipeline and forecast look like, and we're trying to evaluate that using quotes, and totaling up that quote value, using AI to help us determine where are those likely duplicates? How can we really move from a total number, just aggregating quotes to, and we understand that the way we've got our territory set up or dealer network set up, that there is that possibility of duplication. Let's remove that duplication to get a more accurate forecast. So that's an area we're looking at right now. Now, if there's some areas that other folks, in particular customers, have ideas about, would love to hear about them. We'll work them through the process to first and foremost evaluate, is this a great candidate for AI? Now, one of the criteria there is lots and lots of data, right? And data that we can build a model against and run the evaluation. So we'll help walk through that in terms of what the specific criteria that makes it a good fit for AI. So to summarize, we've already deployed AI within CPQ for pricing and for product recommendations. We're working with a customer to look at more accurate forecasting by removing duplicates, and we're actively evaluating where else it might be a great idea. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. It's really cool stuff. I spent some time yesterday with the Coleman team to have learned that there are 75 pre-built, as of today, 75 pre-built data models that are out there. Not all of them. I mean, we heard of a couple for CPQ, but they're for other applications as well. So really cool stuff. Thank you. Okay, so I do have a question that was submitted to me via chat. What is the effort does it take to get to migrate from on-premise CPQ to cloud CPQ? I don't know who wants to take that one. Maybe Chase, you can kind of share. I mean, you shared a little bit about your effort, and then maybe if anyone has anything to share, maybe Charles, you can share your perspective from the UIG, as well as maybe Galen, what you're seeing from other customers. I don't know. Chase, you want to start?
I can go over what we've done so far, and that's primarily, understand there's, the integration with XA to CPQ Cloud. We haven't started that yet. What we've been primarily doing is getting our rule sets moved to the cloud in preparation for that, right? You need to get everything loaded in there first and make sure your rules work. So you still get access to the simulator in the cloud, and then we could actually test it with our EQ deployment as well. And our steps for that were, they have a migration advisor that you run on your local rules database, and it kind of looks for depreciated functions or anything that might be an issue with going to the cloud version. After you get that back, if everything looks good, there was, I believe we submitted a copy of our model database to Galen in for support, and they actually loaded in. I don't know how that process goes for them, but we gave them that, and then our rules appeared. So that's like I said, that was step one, and then step two is if you do want to go and make everything version 2 compatible, there's another series of guidelines you need to go through to update your rule sets. So that's where we're at with it.
Okay. And Charles, you want to share the migration effort for the UIG?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sherry. And I'll say a little bit more about the XA backbone as well. So for the unique item generator itself, what we've had to do, and I had a helper at ISC, he very kindly took this on. And I really like this, by the way, Ross, and please congratulate or commend all the developers. They redid the integration tables on the IBM System I. So for one thing, it's a lot easier to bring them into business objects and enterprise integrator because they're much more like the rest of IBM I database. So you don't have to do SQL views and whatnot to in order to get these things into enterprise integrator. And plus, the new database tables are not using SQL reserved words as field names. So anyway, so I'm happy about that. So yeah, the new database tables are great, but obviously the UIG had to be rewritten to do all its SQL work against the new database tables. There are a few places we were using RPG as well to loop through some of these records. So that was the main thing, but that's been done in the middle of testing that now. Because ISC, we do have EQ to XA functional. One of the really cool Infor rule sets, the wooden door that has the 2D parametric drawings that automatically resize and rescale and redraw. I was able to convert that to be XA compatible. Originally, of course, came from CSI, Sightline Cloud Suite Industrial, but it works great in XA now. So that's good. So that the UIG has been rewritten for the cloud. That was kind of phase 0, though. That was like mission critical. We had to get that done for Penco because it needs to work against the new database tables. But then in XA, you still have what I just refer to as the standard process for allowing XA to publish and receive, the XML BODs that come and go from ION. So the typical things, you have to look at your application settings, the organization node setting in there. Your system link destination definitely changes. Ross was referring to the IMS. I love the IMS and the fact you don't need the enterprise connector. That is a huge deal. That's really great news. A little bit tricky to set up, but it's fully documented, and we've done it twice now at ISC. We had a partition, it was working great, then we put that partition in the cloud like a month later, so we had to redo it all. So we've done it twice now. So you have the system link destination, then the system link transformations for the BODs, and then of course that IMS connection point out on ION needs to be set up correctly, and then you just need a data flow connecting XA and EQ to go both ways, and you're good.
Thank you, Charles. Galen, anything you want to add to what's been said so far?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Sherry, but great explanations from Chase and Charles. Appreciate that input. Like Chase mentioned, we do have a migration advisor, and that is definitely step number 1. And just to give you some context, Chase's migration advisor results were some of the cleanest that I've seen. I think that all of us have seen within the consulting group. So I guess kudos to Chase and team for writing such great, clean rules on premise that they were able to be easily migrated up to the cloud. So they've had a very simple and happy path to get to the cloud. Other customers will have a lot more work to be done, but in services, we have created some programs and methods to make that transition easier. If any of you may not recall, but the configurator engine itself came from MacPack, an old ERP system, and there's some customers that have old syntax that came from that system that we've even had to automate replacing. So there's definitely bigger efforts out there within the community, but we've been creating programs that do things like find and replace. So people don't have to manually go into the rules and change function names and change syntax. And Chase also mentioned what we kind of generically call like our lookup API or just our API suite that we create. So if you have external programs today that need to be changed to web services, we create an API framework to be able to set those up in your environment and test them through a Swagger UI page, if you're familiar with what that is. So a lot of effort on our side to make this transition easier. And we also had somebody on the team spend some time taking the results of that migration advisor output, formatting them, and then we also can return back a document that will have our recommended approaches for anything that's identified in that migration advisor. So if there's a function that comes up and says this is no longer compatible, through all the ones we've done, we think we've been able to create a pretty complete library of suggestions of how to solve anything that's come up in that migration advisor. So there's probably something we haven't hit, but since we've done this with many customers of all different sizes and complexity, we've probably hit 95% of the advisor results, and now we have a known solution or suggestion on how to move those forward. So the other thing that Chase mentioned is something that we're really recommending, and I would even say a polite push, is if you're going to move from on-premise to the cloud, we want you to take the time to get to the V2 engine. And that process is very simple. You go into your rule set, it'll tell you right there in Design Studio if it's not if it's V1 engine only compatibility, and you just have to open it, right click, convert to V2. There might be a couple of validation messages you have to work through before it'll let you save it, but the process of converting those rule sets has been automated. So it'll take anything that's V1 engine only, automatically convert it to V2 engine. But the key, once you get through that, is the testing. So our philosophy, if you're moving from on-premise to the cloud, you're likely going to have to regression test to make sure that any changes that you've had to make to support the cloud, you haven't introduced any new issues. Through a whole regression test, you might even find existing issues that you were unaware of or people hadn't reported. And then you might as well just resolve any issues that would be related to the V2 engine, since you're going to be going through a regression test anyway. The reason for that is that the V2 engine is more performant. And also additional development that we add to the configurator engine, for the most part, is just V2 engine supported these days. So it is definitely the go forward approach for Infor and CPQ. So we want to try to move as many customers to that engine as possible. There are other technical challenges even coming later. I think it's probably sometime next year, Google Chrome is introducing changes to how their browser manages cookies. There are certain combinations of how users are using CPQ within, let's say, Salesforce is one example where the V1 engine just will not work anymore. So those are other reasons that we want to keep moving people to the latest version, so that when things like that are a bit out of our control are going to occur in the technology industry, that we're ahead of the curve there. So Chase had an easy path, but other customers that have had a larger amount of incompatible rules, there are programs that we've created to make that much easier, and we can provide suggestions on how to solve those incompatibilities.
Great. Thank you, Galen.
Sure.
I have a couple more questions here coming in. Chase, this looks like it's a question for you. Chase mentioned 2D and 3D projects. What CAD systems will you be integrating to?
We're going to be using SolidWorks. So I believe they support Inventor, and I'm not sure what the other one is.
Yeah,
I'm not the
to help
engineering.
you out there a little bit, for
Yeah.
2D, it's AutoCAD Inventor and SolidWorks are the two programs, applications that we have support for. And then if you were to use our 3D automation offering, which is available in the cloud now, it's been almost a year since we've released that functionality. That is both SolidWorks and Creo.
Okay.
Great, thank you. This next question I'm going to take on, and Galen and Mike, you can check me on this, but the next question is, does CPQ integrate with any CRM systems? The answer to that is yes, and I think there are 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. It's the Infor CRM, Salesforce, and Microsoft CRM. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
Gold star.
okay, good, thanks.
And yeah, just to be clear on the Microsoft component, it is what they call their Dynamics 365 sales, as opposed to finance and operations, which we also have integration with, but that's the ERP backend, but it is the cloud version of the Dynamics 365 CRM offering.
All right, so I guess I have a follow-on question to that. If someone has something other than those 3, are there options for them to integrate to something else?
From a product development standpoint, we don't have any other core integrations, but all of those integrations are built based on CPQ and enterprise quoting's ability to call web services and make web service calls. So there's going to be some components that are directly on the CRM side that there would be some development there to, push master data from the CRM system into enterprise quoting. But a lot of it is dependent on EQ's ability to call the web services that those CRM systems have and be able to, sync quotes and things of that nature. So if you have another CRM system, we would definitely like the opportunity to, work with that CRM vendor, and whether they have a partner network or they whoever their technical developers would be to help build something out. It's not that we can't do it, but it would be a services engagement.
Okay, thank you. We have a follow-on question to the 2D, 3D discussion. When will support for Autodesk Inventor 3D design automation be released? Galen?
Autodesk Inventor. I don't believe that is currently on the roadmap. Is that right, Mike? We have SolidWorks and Creo.
Did we lose Mike?
Yeah, that's what we have currently. Certainly, if that's a recommendation, I'd like to figure out how much of a demand there is for it. But currently, as Galen mentioned, SolidWorks, Creo are the 3D platforms that we integrate with out of the box.
It's probably worth adding, Sherry, that Inventor though isn't a dead end with 3D, because you can partner with QBuild and they'll take it on for you, or you can get a subscription to what's called Autodesk Platform Services. And I don't know the dollars involved in any of that, so but I do know there are those 2 options for the 3D design automation for Autodesk, working with QBuild directly, or subscribing to Autodesk Platform Services.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
You're welcome.
All right, I have one more question here. We are not currently a CPQ customer. How long should we expect to implement the Infor cloud-hosted multi-tenant environment for my company? So what's a standard implementation for someone not migrating, I guess is a way to rephrase that. Is that for you, Galen?
I can take a stab at that one. I mean, no customers are the same. We've seen implementations that could be as quick as 3 to 4 months. It depends on also what modules you're including. A lot of customers go in phases. So maybe their first phase is just going to be internal users in the ERP system using the product configurator. And then maybe as a phase 2, they're going to add external users, dealers and distributors using enterprise quoting. Maybe even a third phase could be the addition of 2D automation or 3D visualization. So there's not really a canned answer for it. There's a lot of factors depending on what modules that you'd be looking to implement. But usually the longest pole in the tent, as the phrase goes, is the product configuration rules, is to get all of that product knowledge, for pricing and sales and manufacturing, if that's applicable, and into the configuration engine, so that you can present the Q&A to the end user. That's going to depend on the capability of your resources, the size of your team, complexity of your products. So it's hard to say without knowing more about the products that you're manufacturing and complexity and how you do pricing and things of that nature. But I would say the quickest that we've seen is probably in the 3 to 4 month range, and those are rare. I would say that more of a typical implementation would be 9 to 12 months.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any additional questions. If there are any, we'll put them through the chat, and we can wrap up here in just a few minutes. We're 5 minutes to the hour, so I think we're in good shape. I have just a couple more slides to get through, and we'll call it the end of the summer journey. All right, so let me just move ahead here. Thank you everyone for your questions, and thanks to the roundtable team to take on these questions. Appreciate your time. So continuing with your journey, for those of you who've been participating throughout the summer, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are offering a special thank you gift for everyone who has participated through this summer journey. We will be shipping these out to you. It includes the cooler, an insulated tumbler, sunglasses, a beach blanket, and a Craft Shack gift card for $35 for you to fill your cooler with your favorite beverage. So just a special thank you to everyone who has participated. We are building prototypes for customers at the workshop at the Empower conference. We're looking to have received your photos, your limited bill of materials and routings as we described them along the way, a CAD rendering, whether it's a 2D or 3D drawing. We hope to have those by today. We will follow up with you with a questionnaire that will help us in how we are going to integrate the XA to CPQ utilizing the UIG. And then we will have the hands-on workshop at Empower on Thursday, September 14th from 9 to noon Central. So you'll be able to get hands-on experience with your products using CPQ, enterprise quoting, and the configurator at the workshop. So it's a really cool experience to kind of touch and feel it and make sure you're comfortable with it. As a reminder, if you haven't already registered for Empower, please make sure you do so. And I think, Aaron, if you could just add that URL to the chat here so that it's easy for people to click on and go register if they haven't already. Both Fleetwood and Penco will be at Empower. So if you have more questions, you want to bend their ear, they will be there to help answer any questions you may have. Also, as a reminder, we will have the CPQ workshop. If you could please register for that. Aaron is adding that to the chat as well to make it easy for you to click and go register for the workshop. It is free. We are not charging anymore for that workshop. And then my last reminder is that we do have a CPQ Summer Journey YouTube playlist site. Aaron is adding that to this chat as well. Right now, there are the 3 previous Summer Journey sessions that are out there. Aaron will be adding this one so that all 4 sessions will be there, and you can share these with other members of your organization if you would like. And with that, I think we are done. Are there any additional questions from anyone? Any additional comments from anyone before we sign off?
Sherry, this is Charles real quickly. I know I showed it in several of the sessions, but just want to emphasize that enterprise quoting is definitely available in the Infor Go mobile app, and it looks great. And you can configure items right on your cell phone or your tablet. It's really, really nice looking.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. It's very cool.
Yes.
One other note is I just put up into the chat a link to the CPQ Connect user conference in November. There's one note there. It shows sort of like general session identification. When you click on the agenda, it will expose a more detailed explanation of the various sessions with a brief description of what that session includes. So that's now in the link for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing that, Mike. Is everyone else seeing that? Maybe it's just me.
I wonder if it's because I'm hooked in as a presenter portion of this.
Can you send it to Erin and maybe she can push it out to everyone?
Yeah, it looks like that's who I sent it to. DM and Aaron.
Aha, I think it just came through.
Hey, thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing that. All right. We are at the top of the hour, so perfect. Almost like we planned it that way. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Appreciate all your time, and I am looking forward to seeing everyone at the workshop at Empower. So thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.